Okay, so we already kind of talked about how you can fix the laptop overheating issues if it has been blocked up with dust. You simply have to open it and clean it up. But I also mentioned that when you have opened up your laptop, you might as well check and replace your thermal paste if needed. A thermal compound basically ensures that there is no air gap between your CPU and GPU surface and the cooling component of your PC. Because air is not a good conductor of heat and therefore your laptop overheats without effective cooling. If there is a thermally conductive compound between the CPU surface and the cooling coil, then the fan will be able to keep it under 50 degrees or 60 degrees, which is fairly respectable under a decent workload. I had already ordered one from Amazon, which took about a week to arrive, but when it finally did arrive, I got this crooked piece out of the box, so I had to wait for a replacement. Hence, this video came out a week later than I planned it. Oh well, it's finally here, so let's get to it. So the first thing is to monitor how much is my laptop overheating without proper thermal compound installed in it. So I used a software called as CPU ID from HWTest. So I can monitor temperatures of my machine, which is running on Windows at the moment. So when I checked, my laptop seemed to be hovering about 59 to 60 degrees Celsius at pretty much no workload. That's definitely not a good sign. And I opened up a couple of tabs in Firefox and started to just browse around and saw that it's easily hitting around 75 degrees Celsius. Yeah, this is definitely overheating and some maintenance is required immediately. So let's get to it. We start off by tearing down our laptop until the heating assembly is available. This will differ from one PC to another, so just follow a teardown guide, which is suitable for your model. Once you get to the thermal component, just unscrew it and safely remove it away from the CPU and GPU. And check if your thermal compound is sufficiently moist or not. Mine is completely dry and obviously is due for replacement. I recommend using a clean cloth and rubbing alcohol, which is pretty inexpensive, to clean off the existing thermal paste from both the cooling coil as well as the CPU and GPU surfaces. Now you have to be a little more careful when you're rubbing off the thing from the CPU, because using something like a nylon cloth might introduce some static there. So be sure to use a cotton cloth and ground yourself properly as well. Try not to be barefoot and stand on a carpet to isolate yourself. The GPU might be slightly difficult to clean because it's not a smooth surface as the CPU over here. And try not to use Q-tips like I did here because they are fairly soft and the pins on top of the GPU can pull out the strands and make even bigger of a mess. So the easiest way to clean it is by gently rubbing it with the old toothbrush. That works pretty well. Once the CPU and GPU are pretty much clean of the old thermal paste, we can now proceed to apply the new one. This one, as I mentioned, is from a very reputable brand called Arctic Silver, and it's very inexpensive at only 999 rupees. There's plenty of thermal paste in here which is good enough for at least 3 to 4 laptops, but you can always store this away. The shelf life of these things will be around a couple of years. So before applying, just give the CPU and GPU another dab and we're good to go. It only requires like a small amount, maybe a rice grain or a droplet sized particle. Come on, you piece of shit. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, there we go. Perfect. Now the same with the CPU as well. Just a thin long strand of thermal compound would do. You need to have a steady hand to apply this and try not to get it everywhere and make a mess. Once you're done, store this away, and now after cleaning off the residual dust and stuff from the fan area, you are free to reassemble the cooling elements back. Simply align them without wiggling them around too much and tighten the screws. It's possible that you may lose one or two screws, but as long as the cooling assembly is secure and it's not wobbling around, you're good to go. Making sure that the fan connection is correct, you can go ahead and reassemble your laptop just the way you disassembled it. Plug in the battery and see if your laptop boots up. Now I have to mention that during this time my laptop went through a different issue with the hard drive, so I had to install another OS. So right now I'm using Ubuntu 20. Ubuntu doesn't have very user-friendly interfaces to measure the laptop's performance, so I'm going to have to do something with the sensors on board. So I'm going to check the system for any available thermal sensors, which there seems to be an Intel digital thermal sensor. And right now my laptop, according to the sensor, seems to be idling at around 49 degrees. I randomly launched a bunch of apps and see how it impacts the performance, and it's still under 55 degrees. That's pretty good. Let's try to open up one of my main applications that I use, Audacity, and load up an audio file. I tried to apply a compressor which takes pretty good amount of CPU performance, When the compressor is running, the CPU did throttle up a little bit, around 63, but still under 65, which is not too bad for an old hardware like this. So yeah, Arctic Silver 5 does work very well. It brought down the temperatures roughly around 10 degrees and the fans remained relatively silent. I could only hear them when the workload was heavy, and rest of the time they were idling in a very slow speed, so they were very silent. Now I know this isn't ideal, but it's good enough for me who mostly works on a web browser. I don't do any gaming on my laptop anyway. Your mileage will vary based on your hardware and what you run on it. I mean, Ubuntu runs a little hotter than Windows anyway. So that's it. And that's how you replace the thermal compound on your laptop to get better performance. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below. And with that said, I'll see you next time. Cheers.